gotta hear that.
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Phil's Recap and Review. This is for True Detective, Season 3, Episode 3. Now, this was an excellent episode of True Detective for a great season so far. We're only 3 episodes in, but we're almost to the halfway point of this season, only being 8 episodes. And I kind of like that. As much as I want as many episodes as humanly possible for True Detective this season, because I'm feeling it. Like, I'm really feeling it. Everything that I was not feeling about Season 2 of True Detective, I'm feeling about this one. It feels genuine. It feels like a story that has some stakes. Is it as confusing and as mentally taxing as Season 1 was to me? No. Is it going to ever have that special place, like, you know, the first person that touches you in that dirty way? True Detective touched me in a dirty television way in that first season. It might never bite me that exact same way. That doesn't mean I can't look at these seasons and judge them individually amongst themselves. In Season 3, 3 episodes in, might not be for everybody. I think that's my word of the lifetime. But for me, I'm completely feeling it 3 episodes in. I think the show has its balls back. I think the show has its interest level back. And I think I'm bit. I'm bit by the vampire HBO. They've infected my blood again, and I am so fucking excited to see where this season ends. Is it dark? Is it twisted? Yes, it's dark and twisted. It's True fucking Detective. But they're doing it well again. It shows me that maybe HBO or maybe the True Detective team or whatever, they rushed that Season 2 out because it came almost a year, a little bit more than a year, a little less than a year away from Season 1. Now they've waited 4 years to put this season out. So you know they're not doing it unless they want to. So we're going to break down this episode a little bit tonight. I was a little bit more than drunk watching last night's episode, so I didn't take good notes. So I'm going by the Rolling Stone review in recap of last night's episode. So I'm not going by my own review or my own recap. So why the hell are you even listening to me? You're like, listen, asshole, we can look up the Rolling Stone article ourselves. We don't have to hear you bitch about it, but I'll try to give some commentary or something. So I said this earlier in a podcast I did last week, but if you liked True Detective Season 1 and you hated Season 2, or you weren't feeling Season 2 and never quite finished it, or was got a little snuff on your uppagus about Season 2, which my snuff was all twisted up in my uppagus, and I could not deal with Season 2. I shut off Season 2 halfway through that shit, never even finished it, because I'm like, I cannot finish this crap. Season 1 again grabs you by that testicle, that television testicle, and squeeze it. Season 3, I mean, really grabs you by that television testicle and applies the pressure, and I'm feeling it a great deal. The main actor of this season, I'm blanking on his name, but people might know him from Luke Cage playing the main villain in part of Season 1 without getting too far into that. Also, he was on House of Cards playing the character of Remy. He's been in a ton of shit, but this team seems to me, at least 3 episodes in, almost like his acting coming out party, because I always felt like he was good in what he did. I think his character on Luke Cage, who I'm blanking on the name right now, I can't quite think about it right now, but I think showed a lot of different sides to him as well. But I think in this season right here, 3 episodes in, this is the best acting I've seen him do. It reminds me of, I just suddenly got filled with the thought of Team America World Police. He's the greatest actor I've ever seen in my life. Do some acting. But there's just something excellent and vital about this performance of this season, playing this character in 3 different time periods, and it's all engaging. We also have Stephen Dorff making an appearance. I didn't quite place him in the first 2 episodes, but seeing him back here in Season 2, seeing him in the 1990s Season 2 stage, I was like, oh shit, it's Stephen fucking Dorff. Whoa, there he is. And I don't know. I'm in general absolutely feeling this season. And yeah, if you, as I said, if you jumped off the True Detective train, choo-choo, there's plenty of room back on here. I'm here for a surprise this afternoon. I wanted to come on last night, but again, I was way too drunk last night. It was basically, we've had a fake snowstorm, but now it's like negative 5,000 degrees here in Boston area. And last night, to combat combination of weather, football, stress and other sorts of stresses, I just drank like an asshole at home because I'm like, I'm not going out. And I'm doing a podcast late night. Yeah, right. So I tried that. I tried at like 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh, I got to come down here and podcast. Here I go. Hi, everybody. You know, like I almost wish I started to record that, but instead I sat here and I wrote a Game of Thrones song, a song to help me get from here to the beginning of the new season. I'm not only going to be talking about True Detective today. We're going to do a bit of a little recap, quick review of my thoughts on True Detective this season, but then I'm also going to be talking a little bit about some other shows and just having a little bit of a freeform discussion here. So if anyone has any questions or comments they want to jump on in, I'll give sort of immediate thoughts. I haven't watched the whole season, but immediate thoughts on this season of Punisher. And I also want to talk about the STD premiere that we had on Thursday evening. We had the first episode of season 2 of STD. That's right. I'm getting a Star Trek transmitted disease on you tonight. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit as well. So let me pop into the live, but I'm not alone. Of course I'm not alone. Whenever I come out here, I'm lucky enough to have with me some of the best, some of the beautiful, some of the greatest folks in the fucking planet, the live motherfucking chat. The live motherfucking chat is in the house today. Ali, thank you. Thank you. Hey, we got Jordy. I love Jordy Jedi. That's probably, I often comment about this, but screen names, Jordy the Jedi, and I'm going to add him Jordy the, even though there's no the in the name, is still amazing. We got D in the live motherfucking chat. I love the writing and the nuance of the conversation. It seems so real. I hate saying that because I don't think if we ever saw realness on television of like real life, it would be boring as fuck all. But whatever we see on True Detective season 3 coming so far is everything seems like it's needed. Every piece of dialogue builds the wall that's going to be shattered down by the end of these 8 episodes. And I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to say that a lot. I'm going to say I like this a great deal in the next little bit that I'm talking about this episode, because I don't want to talk too much details and make too many assumptions about what's going to happen on this series, because I know no matter what happens, I'm going to be a little goosed at the end. I'm not talking Goose from Top Gun. Great balls of fire! I'm not talking about that kind of goose. I'm talking about Goose, like grab me by the testicles and squeeze. I think there's going to be some element of that in this season. And it's going to come out of left field. And the real surprises are going to happen in the 70-year-old character stage. And that's what's cool about this. I think in the last episode, in part 3, we've established that all 3 storylines are going to be interesting and have things that I'm going to care about. At first, that middle storyline, I wasn't feeling as much. But with the conclusion of that, with Dorf showing up and putting together the Wire there, the Wire task force, and having him join on in his crew, that leads me to be even more interested in that storyline. I'm most interested in the old man storyline because I think that's where our mystery is going to come into play. And then we're mixed with that with someone losing their mind, which is really depressing, but the show manages not. This is where I'm going to say I think I like so far 3 episodes in season 1 a little bit better, but I would say season 3 has a little bit more fun to it. I'm not going to say fun as in, a story about 2 kids being missing and one being murdered is fun. I just mean there seems to be a little bit more of a dynamic of humor or snappiness to it all, where in season 1 is one of those shows that season 1 of True Detective I would recommend making sure you've slept for 2 or 3 days leading up to watch it so you don't even for a second pass out or miss anything. I think True Detective Season 3 is a little different in the sense that it has a little bit more of a bounce to it. Part of that's from Stephen Dorff's character in the past or even in the future when they have him. He's got a cool energy about him, and I think also the actress that they have playing the wife has a good dynamic to her, and she has excellent chemistry with Mr. Ali, and they create a little bit more care and a little bit more of a foundation in what they're saying, even beyond what we're seeing on screen. I cannot say enough awesome things about the showrunner who is working at it. I don't have his name. He has some stereotypical Italian name. It's like Pizzazzo or something like that. But whoever this guy is that's worked on Breaking Bad or worked on Better Call Saul, I believe, and has had some elements of connection with the Ozark cast too, you can feel that same level of quality to this season that I feel in Better Call Saul. Do I think it's like Better Call Saul? No. Do I think it's has anything to do with that? Absolutely fucking not. Or Ozark as well. All it has to do with those shows is the same quality level. And I'm going to say this a billion fucking times until my head explodes inside of a little ball of poop. The show is up on a higher quality level than it was in season 2. And it's back to that season 1 quality level. Even if you're feeling it or not feeling it, it's got the checks and balances shit going all over the place. We got the Geordie Jedi. We got Dwarfburger Swampbeard in the live chat. Orville is Trek, not STD. In season 1, first of all, that's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Orville's Trek in Star Trek isn't Trek. Orville feels like you're watching a Star Trek The Next Generation episode. It feels like you're watching that era of Star Trek. I might 95% of the time like Orville a little bit better, but if people, of course, especially you, Dwarfburger Swampbeard, you freaking moron. No, I'm kidding. I love you, Devin. Devin's one of my friends in real life, so I'm a little harder on him than normal people. But I gotta say that Star Trek Discovery in season 1 was a very uneven season. At times it felt like a different kind of version or interpretation of Star Trek. But just from the title, it's Star Trek. It is Star Trek by fucking definition. But whatever. We can get into talking about that a little bit later. I accept that some people don't feel Discovery. I know some people that don't feel Orville for similar reasons. They find it cloying and pedestrian. I've heard those exact words used to describe the Orville. I personally love both shows. There's enough in each show that I really can glob onto. Discovery, I feel like, found its legs when we went to the Bizarro world last season. At that moment when we shifted over to see the parallel universe, I think it started to encompass a feel of Star Trek a little bit again. But I think for the most part, season 1 of STD gave you a feeling that it didn't quite understand. The show creators didn't understand what made people love Star Trek. I think that's a better way of saying that it's not Star Trek, because it is Star Trek. It could be Star Trek you hate, like Enterprise. I fucking hate Enterprise. For me, Enterprise is the worst, the bottom of the barrel. Worse than Discovery, worse than the JJ movies. Enterprise is a colossal pile of dog shit. And I love Scott Bakula, and I have a huge crush on T-Paul. And I like Trig or whatever his name is. And I like Phlox too. I like some of the characters. I think there's just no chemistry. The storylines suck. It got all right into season 4 or whatever it was, but still was too little too late. I think Enterprise is a colossal pile of dog shit. All of that being said, just to throw a couple of key points up here for our discussions today. The first episode of STD season 2 is the best episode of all time of it. It's the first episode to encompass kind of what I think the Dwarfburger is saying over there in the live chat, that it feels like Star Trek. To have Captain Pine come on in and honestly shift the show just with his dialogue and with how he set everything up. Set up this first episode of Discovery in a different tone to the entire last season. It might have gone too far for you in season 1, and you might never be able to come back. And amen. CBS All Access is a colossal douchebag move by CBS, and it makes me not want to watch it either. But whatever. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid and accepting the fact that I'm being shaken down by CBS. It's all right. I'm being shaken down. I accept it. It sucks. It's stupid. Steal the fucking show. If you want to watch it, steal it. Pirate the shit out of that. Make CBS eat a fucking colossal television ass, okay? Do that. Same with Picard and the new animated series when it comes out, and the Section 31 series. When all those series come out, steal them. Do not buy CBS All Access. I'm telling you. That being said, the first episode of Discovery is the best episode. It's the first one that feels like Star Trek in the sense of the original series and celebrating it. You see the uniforms from the original series. You see the Enterprise, spoiler alert. You're on the Enterprise for a second. You talk to Captain Pine, who gives you all sorts of feelings. So I guess the message of the day here is Star Trek Discovery feels like it's Star Trek again. True Detective Season 3 feels like it's fucking True Detective again. I feel so much energy and goofiness. This is what happens when I don't eat sandwiches before a show. Let me go. I'm way behind in the live chat. I want to catch up with you motherfuckers. So let me check this out. Surprise, like the writing, Geordie the Jedi. The 3-time bands are done really great. Icy Fury, one of our amazing, wonderful patrons. Lots of love to Icy Fury in the live chat. Icy Fury is absolutely right. The 3-time lines are done really well. And now I'm going back to talking about True Detective here. Done extremely well, and each one of them makes you care about it, which in some cases when shows do timeline shifts like this, some are throwaways. And I think on True Detective Season 3 so far, each timeline has made itself more and more interesting, especially last night with the 90s one, where I wasn't necessarily feeling that 100% in episode 1 and 2. In this episode, it made me give a fuck about that too. I haven't seen last night's episode yet, but I'm loving this show. We got Bubba in the live chat. Bubba in the live chat. What really trips me out is the detectives aren't using gloves. That's weird to watch, dropping cigarettes all over the place. There's a couple of moments like that where the DNA, where he's touching stuff here and there. I feel like unless you're The Wire, television shows don't care about that sort of shit. I think The Wire is the only show that I think cares almost 24/7 about accuracy with stuff like that. I think every other procedural detective or cop show that's used is futzed with to a certain extent, even if they worry so much about other points and other protective avenues of making something accurate. I think unless you're The Wire, you don't care about it all. You don't care about to a certain standpoint. Loved you 20 years ago in play. Oh my goodness. Vodka shots. Are we taking vodka shots this afternoon, Dwarfburger? If we get a super chat donation, we might. If we land on drink, I might need to take a vodka shot at 2:22 in the afternoon on a 9-degree day here in the Boston area. And no exaggeration, everybody, and I know people don't really give two flying fucks about weather stuff, but here we go. Weather report. It's 2:22 p.m. here in Boston, Massachusetts, and about 9 degrees, or colder than a witch's tit. That's right, colder than a witch's tit. I see fear. So this show is adding pieces of the puzzle with each new episode. I have a feeling they're going to do that. I think they're going to do that right up until the final episode when they pull the rug from beneath our legs. And I also wanted to mention, if anyone wants to call in and leave a voicemail today, you can do that at 781-990-8509. Again, that's 781-990-8509. And I am going to be putting this up as an audio cast. My last 3 podcasts that we've done, I haven't put up as audio casts, all for different reasons, but all around copyright and shit and being unable to download the episodes. So I need to handle something. I need to do a side recording, which I'm doing today, just recording this automatically either way. I noticed my voice cracked at that point too because I'm all embarrassed. I'm sorry, audio casts. But if anyone does listen to our audio only podcast and you're curious, where's the last 2 episodes of Vikings? Where's last week's Sunday show? Please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Phil the Issues Guy on YouTube, so you can watch live, or at least just so you can catch up on the last couple of episodes podcasts that we've done that do exist just up on the YouTube channel as of right now. So let's continue here. Oh my goodness. Orville is not. Cops drinking on duty could be the norm though. Baba. Orville's not Trek. Orville is Trek, not STD. I think, not meaning to rag on you too much, Dork, I think Orville celebrates what was great about 90s Trek. STD is attempting to go new places with it while going to the past with it. Or almost retreading modern television through Star Trek in season 1. What I think that they've accomplished in season 2 was to, so far anyways, is to at least feel like it understands what's great about Star Trek. And not trying to just make a flashy show with a lot of flashy lights going on and good production values. Episode 1 of season 2 feels like Trek. Let's go. Matthew and Woody and Nico are all executive producers. Oh, yes. I'm sorry about that, D. I also forgot to mention this, and someone has corrected me on this before as well. And I want to mention this over and over again. So thank you, D, for that. Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson are also back in an executive producer's role, as well as the main showrunner for this series. So I don't know if that has to do with it as well, but it's worth mentioning that they were not involved in season 2 and they are involved in season 3. So maybe they have an understanding. They have a stake in this. They don't want their series to forever be known as, oh, that was a really good single season. And I know this isn't theirs, but I think looking back, I think that first season doesn't get all the love it should get because of how poor season 2 was taken in by fans of season 1 and of the show in general, and of HBO in general, and of television in general. And I know some people out there going, well, I like season 2. I'm glad you did. I'm really glad you did. I like shows that are bad too. I really do. I love it. I love bad shows so much that I'm going to talk about how there are elements of True Detective last night that reminded me of bullshit that's happening on this season of Riverdale with the D&D thing that was going on where characters are doing D&D, and that's what sorry, Dev. Doing D&D, playing D&D. And on Riverdale, they're playing G&G because D&D is the Dungeons and Dragons company is like, Riverdale is so stupid that we're not allowing them to use the names Dungeons and Dragons, so we have to call it Griffins and Gargoyles. But True Detective just straight up said, oh, these kids are playing Dungeons and Dragons. Only in a title. No! Not only in a title, in the way that we deal with the same alien cultures are there. They may not be established in the same way. They may not look exactly the same to what we have established them in previous series, but there's new interpretations of it. I hate being in a position here where I'm defending the first season of Discovery because I don't think it was perfect and I don't think it quite understood what was great about Star Trek all in all. But I think it's I don't think Next Generation understood what was great about what Next Generation was going to be in season 1 either. I think most of the Star Trek series, except for Deep Space Nine, had a really shitty first season. I think Enterprise, well, had a shitty run. I think Voyager's first season is horse shit. I think first season of Next Generation is almost unwatchable. Almost unwatchable at times. Season 2 starts to be a lot better. With certain episodes in season 3 is when Next Generation really started to hit its mark. But yeah, blah, blah, blah. Santovia Major in the live chat. Enterprise was better than STD. Just kidding. You're such a troll, Dwarfburger. You're so trolling me right now. We got to get Dwarfburger live in studio for a show so you guys can get a visual on this troll. So... oh, big time to go back to the Discovery stuff and CBS All Access. I'm catching up with the chat right now. Huge D-bag move. No argument over me. I highly suggest nobody buy CBS All Access. Zero people buy CBS All Access. Steal it. Someone's doing it for you and puts that shit up on streaming and touring websites. I don't suggest it. I'm ordering you to do it. Picard is dead. Remember, he used to be Eddie. Like Temp Captain Star Trek. Because they want our money. All the networks are starting their own versions of All Access, which really sucks. I agree. And it's a shame. It's a shame that we live in an era now where I'm going to old man this thing where I miss the days when you used to steal everything and it was all in one app. When you could find everything on Hulu and Netflix. Now it's going to get a point where it's going to be worse than cable. It's going to be worse than cable because you're going to need to get every single one of the apps, and it's going to be, people are going to be going back, cut the cords. They're going to be like, when someone gets a vasectomy and they want to turn it around and reattach they're going to be reattaching their cord because it's going to get more expensive to watch all these apps. To be like, I want to watch all these shows, so you have to get all the apps. It's going to be more expensive than getting fucking cable because cable prices are going to plummet because no one's going to want it because everyone's going to be canceling their cable service. So then they're going to be bringing people back. Oh, God, I'm fucking fucked in the head. Skynet. It's 46 degrees, but I'm freezing. It's freezing. Weather report is ugly. Weather report is ugly. It's going to get uglier as the night goes on. You are at 9 degrees. I'm jealous. It's 6 degrees here with a wind chill advisory. They said it would start in 6 days. Jay, we got Jay in the live chat. Let me know when he's finished with his commercials. STD is a new trend It's a formula. Phil is the captain. I don't have history bias, so I can watch Discovery without a hiccup. Fly of the ship. I don't have history. Also, hiccups could be a heart attack. Pirates permitted. Best Trek is Into Darkness. Yeah, I think Jay might be trolling me a little bit too here. The so-called free networks probably won't exist in a few years. I agree with that. Everything is going to be cost prohibited. Yeah, did I say that right? I did. And I accept that. Even like what Jay's saying right there, his favorite Star Trek is Star Trek Into Darkness. I know he's not trolling me. He's said that for a long time here on the show. So I think what Star Trek does well is it has a little bit for everybody. I know there's some people that claim that Deep Space Nine isn't real Star Trek. So, I mean, there's people that claim that that's why we've been playing this game for fucking ever with Star Trek, and I'm just annoyed with it. And I'm annoyed with people having to put up walls and say, oh, because I like one kind of Star Trek, you can't like another kind of Star Trek. Except for Enterprise, that shit. I'm kidding. But there were people that when Next Generation first came out were saying, this isn't our Trek. Nope. The only Star Trek has James T. Kirk as captain. Then when Deep Space Nine came out, people said, you got to have a spaceship to have Star Trek. Just because it's on a spaceship, space station, not Star Trek. Then when Voyager came out, people were saying, well, this is just a copy of Next Generation. This is unnecessary. All these episodes don't have shit. This isn't Star Trek. This is just a love boat in space. This isn't Trek. And then when Enterprise came out, oh, this isn't Star Trek. This is stupid. Well, it is. This is bad. And then when the JJ movies came out, this isn't Star Trek. This is like Star Wars with Star Trek skins. I think I said that. I'm pretty sure I said that. And now that Discovery's coming out, this isn't Star Trek either. Because you don't like it. It's all Trek. Isn't Axnar's Trek too? It's the animated series it's all Star Trek. You can like some better than others. Orville may feel like the most Star Trek series out there to the Star Trek that you loved. I love Orville. I think it's one of my favorite shows on television. I would put it in my top 5 or 6 shows on TV right now. Discovery would probably be a little lower than all of that. I have hopes for this second season, but I wouldn't put it as one of my favorite shows. It's a show I watched and I kind of liked. But it's more Star Trek than what Orville is because it's actually Star Trek. You can say, yeah, in name only. Okay. Yeah, name in the company that produces it. It's fucking Paramount, CBS. It's fucking Star Trek. Orville has a lot of people that worked on Star Trek. It may be the spiritual successor to Next Generation. That doesn't mean we can be like, yep, Discovery, because I don't like it. That doesn't count. No, it fucking counts. Same as Into Darkness counts. I might hate Into Darkness. I might look at Jay and be like, Jay, that movie fucking sucks. You don't get it. It sucks. But it's Star Trek to Jay. So, yeah. There it is. I'm an asshole. Jordy's like, can we talk Star Wars, please, instead? I'm done. I'm done. I watched The Reign of Superman yesterday. I highly recommend it. Star Trek Next Generation Season 1 was rough, but it still was Trek. Is that a cartoon? Yes, an animated movie. Can we talk about Star Wars instead? We can talk about Star Wars instead, too. And I want to talk about the fact that people that claim that the new sequel movies or prequel movies aren't Star Trek. Watch Return of the Jedi again. I know it's blasphemy to say this, but Star Wars has always been a little cheesy, a little formulaic, and it's just I think we're more used to the formula rather than it's like changing the guard and everything. I think the new sequel movies are all generally better than the prequel movies and not as good as the original series of the 3 movies. But again, it's all Star Wars. Star Wars has always been a little cheesy. We're coming from the company that the second Star Wars movie that ever come out was the Star Wars Holiday Special. Then we live in the same world that had the Ewoks special, that had all that silliness that happened, the whole Ewok adventure crap. So let's not pretend Star Wars has ever been anything but fun, on your seat, action, cheap, predictable in some ways, entertainment. I am not one of these Star Trek people that's like, Star Trek's for me, Star Wars, me. I like both. And I hate that I have to choose to be on one side. I just think Star Wars is, you never run into that where someone's like, this isn't Star Wars. It's all Star Wars. And I think the same thing with Trek. There's just different definitions of what equals that. Anyways, I'm babbling. Watch the Orville get spun off to the Wilbur. Star Wars, Star Trek, the same boat. Oh, Star Wars, the same boat. Rogue is nice. Rogue One was nice. I thought Rogue One was pretty nice. That's the one I felt like I didn't feel like I was watching a Star Wars movie. Same with Solo. I don't like either of those movies, but they're still Star Wars movies. Name, not spirit, asshole. But you know what? You know what, folks? We're going to get into this a little bit more tonight, but let's not waste any more time. I do want to get into a little bit of a... Speaking of Star Trek, let's listen to this song. I'll be back in 1 second. Recap. Now, I don't want to get... I want to talk a little bit more about True Detective, but I do want to talk a lot, keep the Star Trek discussion going if we need be, if people still are hinting in that direction. Dwark, do me a favor. I get a feeling like you have actually watched the first season of Discovery, and you aren't just trolling. Watch episode 1 of season 2. It's less about Burnham. They do a good job at reintroducing you to the whole crew. Like, straight up, they do almost a reboot, a soft reboot in episode 1 of season 2. They have a new captain, a new tone, a more humor. You could tell it. I almost call it the Orville effect because at times in the series, it feels like they're trying to stick it in there where it doesn't belong at times, but I don't mind if they overcorrect a little bit to find that happy balance. It does feel like it's a new show. It feels more about Star Trek The Adventure than it does just directly about Burnham. I think you could... If you had just watched this episode alone, would it have been perfect? No, and you'd never seen any of season 1. I recommend any Star Trek fans that have never watched season 1, skip it and just start with season 2, episode 1, because it actually feels like Trek. Oh, to answer Nith Premiere, what would I think if Star Trek ever went into the hands of Disney? I would be fucking happy. You know why? Because I think CBS has bobbled the ball on Star Trek in many different ways. I think CBS, what they did with the Axanar, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, putting the cease and desist to all the fan-made products in the way that they've created this CBS All Access thing and kind of in almost selling off or being pushers or being, you know, like where a drug dealer gives you the drugs for free and then they're like, oh, now I need to be paid. They're almost pimping out Star Trek fans. So the mouse would just be like, ha, hey, everybody, let's hire some good people that are going to work on Star Trek and know what's about. Ha, 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 and we can build a Star Trek land. Ha, 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 ha. I'd be okay with that. I'd be fine with that. CBS is more... CBS is bobbling the ball worse than I think Disney would. All I would want is that mouse money in Disney World, or mouse money and thinking about Star Trek World. That's all I'm thinking about. I'm not sure. I think Disney has a little bit more of their hand in Star Wars. I would assume in my head, the way I would imagine it would be if they purchased Star Trek, they would treat it a little bit more like Marvel and let them do their own thing, hire Star Trek people to work on it. Where I think Disney, because of how universally appealing Star Wars is, for whatever it's worth, if I had to decide between the two, I'd pick Star Trek. If you're putting a television gun to my head and go, pick one. Star Trek. But I always loved both. But this being said, coming from a Star Trek first fan, Star Wars has way, 1,000, a billion, not even in the same avenue, universal appeal. Total universal appeal to everybody. So I think Disney is more, the mouse is more, let me fuck you, be our next thing because no one cares about Mickey, Donald, and Goofy as much anymore. You know, like whatever. They're trying to make Star Wars Disney. Like Disney is Star Wars. Disney owns Marvel, but I still feel like Marvel's their own entity. So in my imagination would be that they would buy Star Trek and let Star Trek run as their own entity, whereas CBS has their finger up Star Trek's ass and going, let's make the Star Trek fans jump. Okay. And I don't like what CBS has been doing with Star Trek. So to answer your question, I'd be actually kind of happy. Oh my goodness. My father kept insisting me to watch it. I need to watch it, STD, so I purposely have avoided watching it. If Disney got Trek, we'd get a crossover Star Trek versus Picard versus Vader. We would definitely get Picard versus, or we'd get Kirk versus Vader. Obi-Wan versus the Borg. This winter, coming from Disney, Obi-Wan faces his ultimate challenge. Luke, use the Force. That'd be amazing. Sorry. There's something missing without Roddenberry, just like the Muppets without Henson. Who would win, Enterprise D or a Star Destroyer? I think a Star Destroyer, right? Star Destroyer is a little bit more powerful, but that being said, Star Destroyers have more naval movement tactics, whereas Star Trek stuff is like planes and shit, like fighter planes going all around the place. So maybe it could outmaneuver it. I don't know. The son of the executive producer, I think, wow, never thought of it. Never thought I'd hear Mickey Mouse say that. We got Trisha in the live motherfucking chat. But okay, just to swing this back a little bit before I change the subject again, and anyone who's tuned in here just to listen to me talk about True Detectives, like, oh god. But if you've made it this far in the podcast, welcome to Phil the Issues Guy's channel. It's never about one topic. We could be talking about one thing, we'll talk about 10 other things, but I'll always try to bring things back. So to bring things back to True Detective here for a little bit. Now, True Detective this episode was really fun episodes of True Detective. And these first 3 episodes have been great as I'm trying to fight off the urge to want to talk more about Star Trek here. So let me go through. This is from, again, Rolling Stone, a quick paragraph to talk a little bit about this episode. Now, in 1980s, the detectives Wayne Hayes and Roland West discover that Will and Julie Purcell have spent many of their afternoons playing Dungeons and Dragons with a mysterious adult friend rather than hanging with their schoolmates. The suspect with a scar who may drive a brown car and occasionally travel with a female companion. The partners also find a photo album featuring dead boys posing on the day of his first communion in the exact same way his body was arranged after his death. That was really weird. He's like, it's the same way. It was just one of those fucked up moments that the music and way it was like a huge swell. It also runs the place. None of this stops the townsfolk from damn near lynching one of this guy that they think is the dude that committed the crime, and it's just like a lynching moment. The Vietnam vet garbage collector who seems to be on the verge of snapping under the pressure of his neighbor's misguided suspicions. In 1990, Wayne, as we're jumping through times, this is set in 3 different time periods. Wayne is buckling under the stress of his own, with family of the mystery man wrongfully convicted for the crimes, the trash man, we presume, but we don't know anything yet. We don't know for sure anything yet, and I'm wondering if this is going to be where we discover something, then we find out it's different after the fact, or if this is all a big television edging. They're edging our orgasm of TV here. What am I doing with my hands? They're edging our television enjoyment here for one big television orgasm at the end of the season. I like TV shows that do do different things. Some shows work where you have the several little orgasms through the season. I think the Netflix series Daredevil season 3 and season 1 has very much done that, and there's a couple of other shows. Game of Thrones will obviously does that. Almost every episode is a little mini orgasm if it's done right. But even within that, they have several points that in each season. Some shows, like Westworld Season 1, had some moments that broke shit down, but it was really about that final orgasm of TV that you were going to have. And I think, and True Detective was as well, Season 1. I'm wondering what the tactic here is. They only have 8 episodes. Not only have. The stories being told in 8 episodes. I'm glad that they didn't feel like they needed to shell this out to 10 and put in unnecessary crap. So I have a feeling this is all going to be leading to that one explosion point. Sorry, the show 78. Sorry, I got to Star Trek talk for a little bit, but here we go. We're gonna go to True Detective for a while here. Do we know yet who was sent away for the missing kids? No, we don't. We don't know Dick yet. We don't know Dick except for that the father apparently didn't do it, unless or has nothing to do with it, because we know that the father's friends. We know that there's several different times that they come together to solve this case. Or in 1990, they know that they have the wrong person. And then we know in the modern time, or in 2015, that there's a documentary series like the Stephen Avery series from Netflix that I'm blanking on the name of it right now. Or like Serial Season 1, where it's investigating was the case correct. And we also know a little bit more about our characters and where they're at. And people can clue me in a show like this is something that takes multiple watches to get it. I've watched the first 2 episodes a few times. I have not watched this episode a second time yet. True Detective Season 3 has more time jumps than The Walking Dead. It does. I like that though, because it almost reminds me a little bit more of the way or The Haunting at Hill House did it on Netflix, where it just easily shifts into the time periods without a lot of fanfare on it. But it does have a shit ton of time jumps, except it actually makes sense, I would add, Corey Mitchell. To make things more complicated, there's a new Battlestar Galactica in the works. We'll talk about that when we get Joe Dirty Locks on the channel. I think Season 1 and 3 both have straw dolls. Wow. Stranger Things is kind of weird this season. I like that the Stranger Things creator is working on a new Unsolved Mysteries. Did I hear that correctly? And there's a new Twilight Zone series coming up. True Detective Season 3 had more time jumps. So the cop, okay, and then we get in 1990s where the family of the mystery man wrongfully convicted for the crimes, filing a suit to have the conviction overturned, and his wife, Amelia, turning her own experiences working the case to a smash hit book. And this is again where something reminds me of Hill House a little bit. But anyways, and I like how in this time period, the wife has more connection to this case and she's investigating it more for the book. So he's sort of on his own and going crazy. And he picks a fight with his spouse when she returns home tipsy from a fact-finding expedition. She's been grilling the cops who uncovered the fingerprints in the scene of the drugstore robbery. And then we have this scene, he freaks out in Walmart when his daughter walks out. This was one of the most tense moments of the entire episode, and it amounted to nothing. This is why I know they have me, because in the middle of a fucking episode, in the middle of an episode bouncing all over the place, Corey's right. It's where time period bouncing. If this was The Walking Dead, I'd be eating this show's lunch, because it doesn't make me care about what the hell's going on. But this show, through acting, through the marvel of acting, through some excellent, truthfully, some excellent performances all around. There's not a weak link performance. Headed up by Mr. Ali, and Stephen Dorff is doing an crazy job too. Great actor that whenever he pops up in things, and to see the dynamic and the chemistry that those two actors have is equal to, in a different way, to Woody and McConaughey. I was going to say Woody and Wesley for a second here, but the equal to them in a different sort of way. And that creates this feeling of caring so much. The acting performance of him playing himself in 3 different timelines, and all the way he's doing that and making me give a shit about each 3 timelines and not going, fucking, I don't give a shit about old man him. Old man one is the one I care the most about. And his son being there and the host of the talk show, really pressing him and having her whole agenda. it all fits and it all works. Is this going to work for everybody? No, but it's really working for me, and it's hard for me to imagine if you were feeling season 1 that you wouldn't be feeling this too. So let's... They're showing us how Hayes' marriage is being consumed by the case. They're showing us how everything, great point by IC Fury, they're showing us how everything is being, in his whole life, is being destroyed by this case. And how you could say that eventually his mind disappears and he's losing his mind, but from some sort of disease. But it doesn't matter, that this is the case that never leaves him. And I love how it starts out in the original timeline of the 80s, 1980s timeline over that? Is that what it is? 1980? When the case first starts, as it's just another case for them through the procedural steps. And I don't know, it's so cool. Meanwhile, after talking to both the lawyer and a now sober Tom Purcell, Roland decides to form a task force to look back into the case. This is what I meant, where apparently it's not the father. We know that it's not the father, doesn't have anything to do with the case. And the father, who could be a throwaway performance, I think he's doing a really good job in this performance. The drunk, fucked up father at the beginning, that someone that you feel for, but you also look at him and go, yeah, he's not a good father. He's probably not a good father. Or a good dude. But you feel for him, and or at least they make me feel for him. So, so Roland decides to form a task force. Then in 2015, Wayne continues to struggle against his own misfiring synapses, which lands him at a burned out ruins of the Purcell house in the middle of the night with no memory how he got there. Really fucked up shit. The documentarian who's been interviewing him mentions the gap in the investigation that points to the existence of a rogue cop, someone who had gotten to a certain key witness first. He also begins to hallucinate that his deceased wife is rattling on about an infinite number of dimensions, past, presents, and futures, with a persistent illusion. And for some reason, what this figment of his senile dementia is saying has her husband fearing that what he left in the woods will be harder to write off years after the fact. Did he commit the crime somehow? I don't know if they're trying to throw that in there, that he is guilty of this crime somehow. I don't know. But the way they follow his mind in that timeline, losing his focus, it reminds me to go to Star Trek. It reminds me of the episode All Good Things, in the final episode of Star Trek, where Picard is losing his mind. That's another thmy that this season of True Detective reminds me of. People can say you're just using this as an excuse to combine your two topics today. I'm not. I wrote this in my notes for last week, but I forgot to mention it. The way it's set up with the 3 timelines of the cop losing his mind losing his mind as an old man and focusing on 3 different timelines reminds me a lot of the final episode of Star Trek Next Generation, All Good Things. And I don't know, it's not going to have the same kind of conclusion, but I love, from a narrative standpoint, and I'm going to hate it when it becomes me, and I'm here on this podcast, final days of this podcast, where I'm going, yeah, what was I talking about? And it's going to be really sad. But from a narrative standpoint of watching someone that's like knows something, but their mind is battling them, is narratively on screen something very effective, emotionally effective for me, especially to go to personal stuff, the way what went down in my life with my mother and watching her mind kind of going away like this. It's, to me, very effective at portraying that. And I think All Good Things did it extremely well, and I think so far True Detective Season 3 is doing it really well too. Other things have done it too, but it's the closest parallel that pops in my mind. Series starts the day Steve McQueen died. Oh, yeah. I love how... Excellent point, IC Fury, and I wrote that down, and I forgot to mention that last time too. I love how the show gives you an obvious starting point because they give you that date. The father was in the AMC show Halt/Catch. I did not see that. Awesome. Thank you for that, D. Great to see D in the live chat. This is why it's good to do. I have to do more daytime podcasts, and I'm excited. I mentioned this before. I finally figured out my new work situation, and I start my new position tomorrow, or new job, completely new kind of field situation tomorrow morning. So I'm going to finally get into some sort of schedule after training and can start to get into doing more daytime podcasts again on days off, or at least have a schedule to know when I'm fucking doing shit and not all sort of, I can't do a podcast during the day. I got to find a job. So now I can finally sort of chill and relax a little bit and just get into my rhythm and break into the studio as we're downhill, leading to almost there for the final season of Game of Thrones. And we're going to be talking all about True Detective this season. Also, a lot more fun stuff. The Walking Dead will be back soon as well. And we got the final 2 episodes of Vikings coming on. So if you are checking this out for the first time, make sure you subscribe and suggest some stuff. We also have some requests coming up soon too, and lots more fun stuff. Okay, back to this shit. So back in 2015, Wayne continues to struggle. The documentarian who's been interviewing him mentions the gaps in the investigation that point to the existence of a rogue cop, someone who got to certain key witnesses. He also begins to hallucinate that his dead wife. For some reason, what this figment of his senile dementia is saying has her husband fearing that what he left in the woods will be a bit harder to write off years after the fact. Now, it isn't, this is what... Then there's an interference from authorities, in this case with the local prosecutor's office, which keep mudding up the waters by releasing information or agreeing to offer a reward for information funded by the Chicken Magistrate in-house charity foundation. If Captain Cregeen stepped in and told Wayne and Roland to check out the Chicken Man. The Chicken Man? Wait. Sorry, I was going to go pick up a picture of Gus Fring right there. The additional timelines don't seem to complicate things much either. Yes, we're left to wonder exactly how Amelia died and how Wayne fell out with his daughter, who was framed for the prosecutors for killing or kidnapping, or how Roland got shot. But you got to put a lot of detective work in yourself to come up with a spin. But anyways, so the real difference now is the dialogue and performance. Okay, so the rest of this article is just someone's opinion of the episode, which I can talk about myself. The dialogue in this episode was spot on and really top notch, and that's what elevates the show. That's what elevates what's going on. It isn't always the storyline of the plot or keeping me invested in what's going to be happening from week to week and from moment to moment and the big mystery. In some shows, the mystery is important, but also the journey is important. I think the mystery becomes more important when a show is less fun for you week to week in watching the episodes, or it's more of a slog because you're like, I have to tune in every week to find out what's on. Where I feel like True Detective Season 3 so far has a little bit of that Better Call Saul-ness to it, where I am just loving watching what's happening on screen. And I feel the same way about Season 1 of the series. I care about the outcome. I want to know what happens. I'm invested to find out what happens. But if the ending is not what I want it to be, am I going to be like, fuck, this whole thing sucks? No, this isn't a show like Lost or a show. There's a lot of shows like this where you become so invested in the stuff and the show isn't even good anymore, but you're like, I have to finish this and I'm invested. I think I know how this is going to finish. I want to see how this concludes. And if it doesn't hit you, it surprises you, it gets stupid. You're like, fuck this show. Fuck it all together. I'm never going to watch this shit again. It's not worth it. I don't think True Detective Season 3 is going to be like that. I think we know where, things are confusing because the way it's set up and the way it's edited together at times. But I think, reasonably speaking, people that watch these HBO series, longtime HBO viewers, can break apart what's happening right now in the series. We know what mysteries are set up, what we need to find out. Could they throw some major curveballs along the way this season? Yes. And do I think they might? Of course. But I think they're setting us up in a good place of filling us up with the information and it's almost like a linear story. Is this going to be, I'm not saying it's completely linear, but like a linear video game story that takes you on amazing twists and turns. I don't need to necessarily have that choice of freedom or the feeling like I think it could go crazy in any fucking direction. That's good when it works like that, but watching a tight narrative that knows what it's doing and stays true to it, I think can be just as effective. Not everything has to be Westworld, you know? Not everything has to create mystery after mystery after mystery. I think True Detective is not that. In its essence, it's a procedural, like a Wire with a little bit more magic to it from just the detective standpoint. But I think when I say The Wire, it's nothing like The Wire, Phil. I know it's nothing like The Wire because they're completely made by different artists. But what I mean by that is that it celebrates some of the procedural aspects of it in a way that isn't as formulaically lame as the Law and Orders. I'm not saying people that like Law and Orders are lame. I'm just saying in the sense of I watch certain cookie cutter kind of shows too. For me, procedural stuff needs to be a little deeper for me to get into it. That's why I burnt myself out on Law and Order in the original run. I didn't need Law and Order 75 different versions of it in every different city and every different department. Law and Order Water and Sewage Edition. I didn't need the Law and Order WS. I didn't need it to go that far. I was fine when we had Don't Leave Baby in a Corner. We had Baby's dad, and we had the guy from Flash. we had Joe from Flash, and we had the lawyers and stuff. Whatever. That was enough for me. But I think what shows like The Wire and True Detective do is they take that procedural thing and they give it to you in a tilty way, in a fun way, in a new established way. And I think True Detective season 3 and True Detective just in general, all 3 seasons of it, that's what they're doing. They're trying to celebrate that and do it their version of that. So going into the next episode looks like it's going to be very exciting. I was on edge seeing this next week's preview. I signed up for the HBO app. So just a comparison to talking about the CBS app. I signed up for just so I could watch the first 2 episodes to see if I was interested in it and if I would. And I'm broke, as I mentioned before. I'm just starting to work a new job, so money's been a little extra tight these days. So without even getting the job, after watching the first 2 episodes, I signed up for HBO because I knew I would need to watch the end of this series. That's the best compliment I can give it right now. It completely erases any negativity I had towards the True Detective franchise in season 2. And it encompasses everything that was awesome about season 1 while being a completely unique, different kind of story. Again, that's something I guess I could compare to The Wire. But I can't wait. It's the show I'm most excited for right now, week to week. And we'll be out here pretty much every Sunday, maybe sometimes on Monday mornings or Monday afternoons to talk about this episodes of True Detective. So if anyone has any comments or questions, you were talking Phil, you were talking computer. Same here, bro. I love you guys in the live chat. Sloppy meeting in a legal investigation. Phil getting a new job as an NFL ref. Phil, I'm living the dream, Phil. No daytime casts. I would work during the day. So many surprises in the episode, like one partner gets promoted and the other gets the shaft. And knowing how that goes and filling in those gaps or filling in those understandings, I cannot wait to get all those answers. And even the ones I don't get, I like how it creates texture in the universe to make me want to know more. And Brian Dodds, living the dream. I miss Lenny from Law & Order too. It's good to see Phil hyped about his show 2 casts in a row now. I am. I'm actually really excited about this show. I'm obviously really excited about Game of Thrones, but it's hard to really feel that yet without seeing a new trailer. So a lot of the foundation of like my excitement of that is like, yeah, I'm excited, but come on, let's see it. It's like anticipation type shit. I'm really feeling these first 3 episodes of True Detective, and I'm bummed that we only have 5 more. It's going to be good. And I'm Law and Order from the mailroom. Phil looks, oh, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian. As I've said many days, it's going to be one day. It's just going to hit me like a steel trap. You know, it's going to be one day I'm going to look the way I look now. The next day I'm going to look like Willie Nelson. It's not even going to be a gradual thing. It's going to be blam. Hair will be all white. Blam, Willie Nelson. It's coming. It's coming. Plus, if you look closely, let me get closer so you can see. See, I got the post 4-0 creases going on. I got the John creases all over my face. No, I miss him too. I thought he was an awesome actor, obviously from Dirty Dancing fame. Peter Griffin. I hope. Filgerman Buttons. I can only wish, buddy. I can only wish. So I don't know what much else I can say other than continuing to lick the labias of the television, of licking the television labias of True Detective, because I could do this all night long. In Nick Cage from the immortal classic Face Off, I could eat a peach for hours. I could eat a peach of True Detective for hours and never get full. Deliciousness. Really good stuff. Can't wait till next week. I'll be talking about this show for a while. And I'm glad to see it reaching that peak again. So let me change the subject one more time to our final topic of the day. Let's play some happy music for a happy show. Excuse me for 1 second. Woo. It's true, I see Fury. At one point in time, who knows? I might get chubby too. I might get Santa Clausy. At one point, the last days of this podcast, I will probably look a lot like Master Aemon. Unless we can get home, what would be the word? A home version of a projector system, holographic projector system that I could do a podcast where to you guys I looked like I did now, but really what I looked like some Melisandre magic to do the podcast. Oh my goodness, we got the wonderful, the amazing AK in the live motherfucking chat. Love you, Alicia. I can't talk today. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. Like I went somewhere. What am I trying to do here? Welcome back to the show, everybody. Excuse me while I go play a drum solo. I do want to. Great to see all of our friends in the live motherfucking chat this afternoon. Why do I have that Amazon thing on? Take that. Oh, no. But if you're going to do any shopping on the Amazon, make sure you start your shopping with Amazon.com/shop/PhilTheIssuesGuy. You don't have to buy anything on the store, but just start your shopping like that. And I get a few coins in the fountain so I can buy some backup gear. And when I break a wire, I can buy a wire or something like that. So thank you, everybody. A Phil the Issues Guy avatar. Yes, if I could get a Phil the Issues Guy avatar, there's at least enough hours of footage of me babbling on screen somewhere that I could probably have enough foundation footage that one day, if the technology catches up, you won't have to look at my 300-year-old Melisandre look doing this podcast. I can produce what me in this time period looks like. Excuse me. But that's weird sci-fi bullshit. Speaking of weird sci-fi bullshit. No, but the final topic that I want to talk about today, and I'm also going to be bringing back up Star Trek. So if anyone has anything they want to talk about, Orville, Star Trek Discovery, or any random Star Trek topics, feel free to talk about it right now. It's sort of a free-form end of this show. I don't know why I have to celebrate it. Like, say, everybody, welcome to the free-form section. Here's Joe Dirty Locks. But I want to just babble about a couple of things. First thing I want to mention, I didn't just bring up the Sopranos technical difficulties thing for any particular reason, because I do want to mention a show that I'm watching right now. I'm only 4 or 5 episodes into it, but I've started to watch the new season of The Punisher. Now, The Punisher, if you haven't watched season 1, it's in The Punisher, this is our third series that we've seen him show up in. Showed up in Daredevil season 2, his own single season, and now Punisher season 2. So far, I will say this about it. Storyline, I'm maybe not bouncing on it immediately, but there's something fucking amazing about John Barenthal playing the Punisher. It's one of those characters that he fits it like a glove. Even, and I know there are detractors of these Netflix series, the Marvel Netflix series. There's some people that really love them, the good parts of them. People like myself. I'm kind of a fanboy of them. But there's some people that are haters of it, and there's some people that are right and are right in the middle. That some are great, some are bad. So there are good points and bad points in these series. But I would say minus one glaring exception. I would say for the most part, no, I would say altogether, except for the one glaring exception, the casting on these series has been so fucking spot on. I think they got the perfect guy that played Daredevil. He is Daredevil Charlie Cox. Luke Cage is Luke Cage. That actor is amazing in that role. Jessica Jones, she is incredible as Jessica Jones. Even if you don't like the series, her playing that character, it's just like fits like a fucking glove. Wilson Fisk, again, I'm going to repeat myself. I'm sound like Phil's a bro. And I am a broken record. Wilson Fisk. He is Wilson Fisk. John Barenthal is the fucking Punisher. He kills it in this role. And even if I'm not 100% invested in what the storyline is yet, and I'm real early on, he is engaging on screen to watch. He kills it in this role. He feels like the Punisher, and the series sets up a way that I don't know if I root for him. It's got a couple of annoying characters this season, but I don't know if I root for the Punisher, but I know he is the fucking Punisher, and I can see this going in crazy directions. So I'm excited for the remainder of this season and to see where it goes. Am I feeling as much as I felt season 1 right off the bat? No, not necessarily, but these series take time to get going, so I'll see in the direction that it's going. I watched episode 1, probably will finish it over the weekend. It was fun. Any new show recommendations? I mentioned this before, and it's kind of a show that I've weird science. Any new show recommendations? There's a couple of cool shows on Netflix I would recommend. Obviously, I've mentioned it a couple of times today, and I know you're in on it. True Detective season 3. You on Netflix, which was actually a Lifetime show. If you watch, especially if you watch Gossip Girl, if you're at all partial to Gossip Girl, I know I'm selling this show big. Last 3 or 4 podcasts, I think I've mentioned it. It wasn't great. It's cheesy as shit at times, but it was a fun fucking watch. I had a lot of fun watching that. Punisher just came out. It was really cool. If you haven't watched Haunting at Hill House, I thought that was fun. I know I'm just mentioning Netflix ones. The Tick on Amazon. If you like The Tick, I've just caught up with that. Fucking great. Fucking great. Fucking great. Let's see what else. Sabrina. The New Adventures of Sabrina is darkly entertaining. So there's a couple. Bandersnatch. Was I the only one who seemed to pick the wrong thing every time on Bandersnatch? I definitely picked the first pothole on that. People, let me know in the live chat or in the comment section if you guys would like to do a Choose Your Own Adventure book on the show here. I think I might do that. I'm going to buy a Choose Your Own Adventure book or 2, and we're going to do it live on, or if people would like to do that, we're going to do it live on the air. I'll figure out a fun way of doing it where read it in voices, maybe get a guest here to play with, or we can play on the audience, play with the audience. I can play with the audience. Oh yeah. We'll find a way to play. So let's continue down here. I saw a trailer. Wait until Joe finds out the Karen makes finds out the Karen makes appearance. Oh my goodness. Thanks. I will test it out. We got Katie Kova in the live chat. Anyone seen Glass yet? I heard mixed reviews. I've also heard mixed reviews, and I'm very excited to see that movie. I was a huge fan of Unbreakable, and I didn't see the second movie, so I guess I should see the second movie too before I see the third movie. But I just was a big fan of Unbreakable, especially Sam Jackson's performance in that movie. So to see a movie centered around him is what I'm at least thinking it's going to be, because it's called Glass, or at least seeing him play that character again. I'm very excited for it. I'm trying more and more not to, especially with movies, listen too much to some kinds of reviews, but they're the reviewers that I trust. Even within them, it's mixed. So I have a strange anticipation to see it. I'm trying to be as unhyped as possible, but I am very excited for it, because not that I'm a huge fan of Shamanama, I'm a huge fan of Unbreakable and Sam Jackson's performance in that, because Sam Jackson's one of those guys that I think he's like truly a great actor. But he's also one of those actors that can easily fall into his shtick. And his shtick is so fucking entertaining. There's so many actors like this. I think Al Pacino is another example of this same thing. Al Pacino, somewhere along the way, around the time of doing the movie Scent of a Woman, developed a shtick. I mean, he always had kind of a shtick, but really in Scent of a Woman, I think, was the point. Hoo-ah! Hoo-ah! This sort of thing. Then he just used that character in a lot of movies. Devil's Advocate's a version of that character. You could look at it that way. Righteous Kill. I can keep going on Al Pacino performances post Scent of a Woman. And I would say Sam Jackson has a little bit of that in him too, where the Sam Jackson character is so goddamn entertaining that can be Sam Jackson in almost any movie, and you're like, oh, fuck it, he's amazing. That to see him work into a movie like that movie, what was that movie? Hobo with him and Christina Ricci, or Unbreakable, or that I could go down the list if I had an IMDb in front of me of some of his more Time to Kill, like some of his more acty performances. He has so many gears as an actor, but because he does that thing that people love so much, me being one of them, get these motherfucking snakes off these motherfucking planes. You know, that fucking shit. It's like me with motherfucker. I mean, I like saying it every other word. I could do a podcast where I elicited no bad words, and I just attempted to speak eloquently. I couldn't pronounce the words, but I just mean I can not swear, just be whatever. But I like doing it, and I have fun doing it, and at least there's one or two people that enjoy hearing me saying motherfucking chat. But with Sam Jackson, it's like, I'm not comparing myself to Sam Jackson. I'm just saying people do a thing and you do a shtick, and you can get lost in it sometimes. And I think it's more a case with actors. And actors, Sam Jackson does that shtick. So the Glass role is something very different. So, yeah. So that's a long way of saying I'm excited to see him play a different kind of character again. Boom. I was thinking about doing something with a Halloween creepypasta. Oh, nice. I'd be down for that. Awesome. Cool. I want to get a couple of Choose Your Own Adventure books and then have some fun. It was something I wanted to do even before Bandersnatch came out, and that's made me want to do it even more. So it'll be a lot of fun. Glass, they probably waited too long. It feels desperate now. Dwarf, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. It seemed like it's not so much it's desperate. I think the truth of the matter is M. Night Shyamalan had that big rise, and then he fell out so much after Signs. I think Signs was his last like big movie before he disappeared for a while. There was one year where there's some weird piece of trivia where M. Night Shyamalan wrote like the best movie, the best comedy, and the best drama that won the Oscars or something, like Stuart Little and in The Sixth Sense the same year. Like he wrote, I may be making this up, but someone fact check me on this in the comment section after the fact. I think it was Stuart Little, but it might have been, no, it was, what fucking movie was it? Fuck. There was some movie that M. Night Shyamalan and Shyamalan, yeah, and I'm going to keep pronouncing his name like that. Fuck all. I gotta open up his thing because I gotta see what it is. It's M. Night Shyamalan. It's some weird movie that he wrote that I was like, fuck, he wrote this movie? When I heard this, where is it? Is it writer? Kick that writer. Oh, it is Stuart Little. Okay, I was right about that. The same year that he won best, or it was like nominated in 2 categories for The Sixth Sense and Stuart Little, some shit like that. It's weird, but I think it's more akin to, since he had like that second career burst, he's like, oh, I got to do all my shit now while I'm still on the top of the, while I'm still out there before people don't give a shit about me anymore. And what might be a shame is if this movie gets panned, it might just do that. But I don't know. I'm just excited about it to see Sam Jackson play that character again. And it's not a movie I'd go out to the movie theater to see, but it is a movie I'm going to watch when it comes on HBO or Netflix or something. Oh, God, my shoulders. Oh, yeah. There we go. Sorry, I need to do it. People listening to the audiocast, I need to do a shoulder shrug there. Dun, dun, dun. You has a stalker key killer vibe to it. I was scared. Yes, it definitely does. I would still eat that. Deep Blue Sea was shtick parody perfection. Yes. Oh, Blue Book with Littlefinger. Has anyone watched that? The Blue Book. Is that worth checking out? I've definitely seen that. I've seen the commercials for it while I've been watching Vikings. So I am a little bit eager or in anticipation to check that out. So everybody, I guess I'm going to start to wrap things up here. What do we learn today? We learned that True Detective. Oh, no, I want to go back and talk a little bit more about Star Trek, I guess, before we end. We learned that True Detective Season 3 is fucking amazing right now. Punisher's on. It's amazing and really fun. Really fun so far. I'm not compelled to binge it right now, but I am going to watch the whole series and have a lot of fun with it. That reminds me of the other thing I wanted to talk about. John Barenthal has been cast in the Sopranos prequel thing that's coming out. I don't know who he's playing, but that was announced last week. So that's the first. There was also somebody else that was announced that I'm blanking on, but it made me think about it because of the Punisher discussion. But it's the first things we've started to hear about this series. So the first words are that we got John Barenthal, which is not a bad thing. There's one moment in Punisher early on in the series where you see the Punisher sitting at home flipping through television channels and kind of scoffing at some stuff while he's flipping channels. Part of me really wanted him to flip to The Walking Dead, whatever season we're in right now, season 9. Be like, oh, God, this sucks. Like to see a Negan speech and just shrug his head. Oh, my goodness. M. Night was testing genres. Long live Jadzia Dax. What? Jadzia Dax. Sopranos prequel. It's not good enough to stand on its own. I think it's... I love you, Dev. I think it's more of that it's so good that world was so rich that it deserves more stories set in it. Not necessarily anything that has to do with our characters that we know now in the main series, other than maybe Junior and some of the side characters of the older folks that we've seen, like early on Polly or something. But I think it doesn't matter. It's not going to be affecting the series at all. It's going to be kind of its own movie just set in the Sopranos universe. So I don't think a prequel is necessarily the best way of referring to that, even though it's accurate. K. Rich says Sopranos prequel has failure written all over it. It's very possible. And if it does, we will be out here to talk about it and give it shit. It's hard for me to imagine it would because Dave Chase is working on it and he has a high shit standard, but you never can tell. If anyone else was doing it, if David Chase wasn't the one that was actually doing it and someone was like trying to buy the property from him to do it, I would be more apprehensive about it. But the fact that Chase wants to do it gives me hope, I guess. You know what hope is just something disappointed people say first. So Let's go. Ezri did suck. I never warmed up to Ezri. I think there was maybe one episode she had with Garrick that I didn't mind, but I never warmed up to her being a Dax. I don't think she ever warmed herself up to being a Dax. I think that's part of the problem. I think playing Indecision is a difficult thing to do on screen because I felt that within her, and I just never gave a shit about her character. In stark contrast to Jadzia, who, more than almost any other character ever on television, exude confidence. Even with Terry Farrell's moments of cheesy acting in the early half of Deep Space Nine and uneven character progression at times, once she got with Worf and they sort of finally established and really got, I think, what Jadzia was. And I think they got it a little bit before that too. But I think Deep Space Nine, I'm T-minus 5 seconds before Dwarfburger says something disparaging about Deep Space Nine. I think really started getting amazing in season 4. Season 3, I think, is just as good in its own way. Season 2 and 1 are definitely foundation seasons, but season 4 is when you hit the ground running. And once you had a Klingon on board, it allowed Jadzia to show off her, or the Dax, understanding and connection through Curzon of the Klingons. And it added a different dynamic to Jadzia's character. But even from the beginning, she was able to play that, the confidence, and that understanding of a life form that had lived, I think it was 7 times at that point. But I could be wrong on the numbers. But Jadzia, she did. And especially because the way her character went out at the end of it doesn't. I'm done. Spoiler alert for a 1990s series that if you haven't watched by now, you're never gonna fucking watch. But anyways, the way Jadzia dies is very unsatisfying. Yes, I think they could have done they could have had Dukat do numerous things in that moment, and Dukat didn't need to do much more to be an evil fucker. I think the character died that way because Terry Farrell wanted to be on Becker. Like, we can cut this shit sandwich 100 different ways and it's still going to taste like poop. She wanted to be on Becker, and yeah, so she left. She wanted to be written off from what I know. I could be wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comment section, Trek purists. But so they wrote her off, and I think her storyline would have gone a lot different if maybe she would have died at the end and they would have given her a different host somewhere in season 7, but perhaps not. Perhaps it would have had a different conclusion. And I always hated that we never got Worf getting to confront Dukat after that. But whatever. Let's continue. If it's as good as Saul is. Who's going to fuck you, Devin? Who's going to play young Polly Walnuts? Nobody. Polly Walnuts is going to play Polly Walnuts. Now Devin's definitely trolling. He's like, yeah, it's as good as Better Call Saul. ... What a fucking asshole that Dwarf Burger Swamp Beard is. Troll. And I'm feeding him because he's one of my best friends. Love you, Dev. And I don't trust HBO with the Game of Thrones sequel. Disappoint the mob in the least bit. We riot. That's going to be one of the biggest. We're going to talk about that a lot more once we get into Game of Thrones. And I have to make excuses to do more Game of Thrones podcasts. So I want to do that on topic. I think for good or for bad, no series is going to be as harshly judged as the Game of Thrones prequel series when that comes out. People are going to want to hate that. I'm going to go in to hate that. So I'm not going to hate that. Go very strong on HBO, and if they do that right, or if it feels like a cash grab. If it feels like, oh God, we got to suck Game of Thrones dry until it bursts. We have to make sure every ounce of juice is gone. Jadzia did leave shoes way too big to fill. I said that before. I want to say it again. Yes, Judsie and Worf was one of my favorite Trek relationships. I would argue it's one of the best, was one of my favorite romantic relationships ever depicted on screen. I think it does an excellent job at making me care about both characters. It's funny when it needs to be funny. It's not too cheesy. It shows a relationship that isn't perfect, like some television relationships can go to. They never reach that happy point. That episode where the both of them go to Rizar and they're in an argument the whole time, and when she has a party and he yells at her at the wedding episode, all that stuff rings very real to me. And it's very effective. They love each other, yet they have moments of where they go crazy on each other. And it works, and it's effective, played by two people that have extreme chemistry on screen. That's always one up when you have that on screen. There's a reason why Moonlighting worked. And it's not just because Sybil Shepherd is a decent actress and Bruce Willis is a good actor. It's because both of them had chemistry on screen, and it got depicted on screen while it was there. And that's what made Moonlighting work. It wasn't because either one of them had talent as actresses or actors. It was because they had chemistry. Chemistry can fill in a lot of fucking gaps. If two people get along on screen and you can see that dynamic with them, it fills in a lot of acting bullshit. It's part of what makes something work. It's half the battle. And the other half is knowing. We know that knowing's half the battle. We learned that from G.I. Joe, but the other half is chemistry. Ducat's quest line was my biggest disappointment. That final season storyline with Ducat and Kai Wynn, as much as I love Deep Space Nine, that storyline was horse shit. I said it. Horse shit. With all the Par Wraith stuff, they could have done that in a lot cooler way. The way it was depicted in the hike where he becomes a Bajoran for a while and then is forced to be blind and all of that. I don't know. I don't think it was the best way for Kai Wynn's character to end and Ducat. I don't think you had to group the two biggest villains on the series. There were two extremely effective villains, and I would argue the two best villains, two of the top 5 villains in all of Star Trek, Kai Wynn and Gul Dukat. Gul Dukat maybe arguably being number 1, with I know some people would say Khan, or the Borg as a whole because they're one entity. But I would say Ducat's my favorite of all the villains. Okay, Rich. Jimmy Ocean Blues, I love you. Good to see you in your new place. I'm going to rewind and hear the beginning of this cast because True Detective is good. I want to hear your thoughts. Hate watching is real. The party before the wedding and the test. Yeah, that was great. That whole episode before when they have the party and Jadzia has that Hawaiian guy come in that she's going to hook up with on the bachelor party. And that's very clear that she's going to be banging that guy. And then Worf's mother-in-law, not mother-in-law, Martok's wife comes in and calls her a strumpet. And she's going to kill her. Great episode. Could have been a throwaway episode. I also love the whole storyline with the Klingon bachelor party where it's all about torture. And they think that they're going to someplace cool. And Jake is being all Jake the whole episode. Oh, they're all in a Klingon bachelor party. Use your imagination, Kira, after he hears Odo say that. Great shit. Amanda Stewart. This was a nice surprise seeing you after I got home from work. Amanda Stewart, I'm so excited to be able to be out here to babble to you. I'm wrapping things up right now, but it's been a very fun podcast. I'm excited to be able to talk to you this afternoon. I'm also excited, as I said, to have my new job kind of set in so now I can get more into a schedule and get into the flow and get a little bit more of a rhythm going in the podcast. As I know, since I've been in the new area, it's been hard to get going and feel like 100% banging to come out here and do a podcast. But I'm excited now to really, between now and April, do as much as we can leading up to this final season of Game of Thrones on as many shows and movies and games and silly topics as we can. Because as much as I love talking about certain shows and certain topics, when I get to do this and just shut it all off, I'm not reading anything, I'm not talking, you guys are throwing out comments and questions and setting me off into different directions. This is probably my favorite thing to do and the closest thing to my old Issues program radio show, minus playing some songs here and there. So this is the fun stuff. Kylo and Rey, no chemistry, more like brother and sister. They should have just killed Dukat off. They should have let They should have let Garrick and Worf work together somehow to kill Dukat. I'm sorry. Get all fanboy on me. And I mean, get all fan service on me. I don't care. They didn't know what to do with them as the show moved away from Bajor to Dominion War. I agree with you, Dworkin. Patriots are going to go to their 9th Super Bowl. Tom Brady, number 12, is the greatest, says Jay. Got to go, Phil, in the live motherfucking chat. I got to go as well, live motherfucking chat. Those 2 games were so good, they could have been scripted. I agree. If not, I don't talk about sports too much here, and I know because it's not everyone's cup of poop. But if you're a fan of professional American football, NFL football, you couldn't have scripted 2 better football games yesterday. They were both a shitload of fun. The Patriots game especially was a heart attacker. A fucking heart attacker, dude. And it's going to be fun. As my voice cracked, when it's time to change. When you rearrange. But if you like football, both those games were fucking awesome and a lot of fun to watch, regardless of what the outcomes were. Even if the Patriots has lost this game, as I like the Patriots being around Boston, but they're not my favorite of all the NFL football teams because of, I've said it many times, but because of Bo Jackson and Tecmo Bowl, I am a Raider fan. That's true. That's right. I'm a Raider fan. But considering that the Raiders and the Chiefs are arch rivals, I was extra fuel to root for the Patriots. So I was invested more than the average Patriots game for me as well too. So that was a lot of fun last night, and part of the reason why I got drunk, because it was so stressful of a football game, it made me go drunk. I felt like I was watching a Game of Thrones episode. It felt like that. There were so many twists and turns, character deaths, and weird sexposition going on. I felt excited in a lot of different directions. And fun game. Looking forward to the Super Bowl because I'm hoping we're going to have a Game of Thrones trailer on the Super Bowl. And literally the minute we get that Game of Thrones commercial trailer, if we get it, I'm going to run downstairs and do a podcast. I'd love to be able to do a live reaction. Maybe I will see it come on and I'll go, I can't watch this. Run downstairs and do a live reaction of it live on Super Bowl Sunday if we get it, or watch it on the big TV and then come down and break it down and do a secondary reaction here on the show. So everybody, that game was stressful. I couldn't go to bed. I was so wired. The refs stole the game from the Saints. I got to say that I don't usually subscribe to refs stealing calls except for against the Raiders in the Tuck Bowl game against Brady. Cheater. I'm kidding. I will always be bitter about that Snowball Tuck game. But I got to say, truthfully speaking, the Saints got jobbed in that game. They did. They got fucking jobbed. That was a penalty. Should have been a penalty. Easily. That's a lot of bullshit. They got jobbed. Weird sex positions. Now you're talking sexy, Phil. That's a different podcast altogether. That's Uncle Phil's Ketchup Couch. Tune in late night. Oh, you make me blush. Thank you so much. Everybody, if you haven't already, you enjoyed this video, enjoyed this podcast, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Share my channel with a friend. Please help us grow. Help us push it away. I want to thank everyone in the live motherfucking chat that's there today, this afternoon. Alicia, Amanda, D, Dwarfburger, Icy Fury, K, Rich, SM Down, and all the folks that were with us earlier today. You guys are awesome. I will be back next on Wednesday evening, pending I don't have to get up super early on Thursday morning. Either Wednesday evening or Thursday afternoon to talk the second to last episode of Season 5 of Vikings. Should be a fun episode, so if you want to check that out. Then my next time live after that will be on Sunday, unless I come up for a surprise. But next time live will be on Sunday with Joe Dirty Locks. Not sure what we're doing. Maybe I'll invite Joe over to catch up on some True Detective so we can watch it live. Maybe Joe can steal it and catch up live. Maybe I can figure out a way to let Joe enjoy True Detective too. Alicia. Can't talk today. Great to have you. Great to see you again. Lots of love to you, AK. Amanda. Mwah. K. Rich. Mwah. Jordy. Thanks for popping it in. Dworky, come over here at some point soon so I can beat your ass in Smash Brothers. You know it's coming. Oh, the beatdown's happening. Oh, baby. I'll talk to you guys next time. Let me get over. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. The show's over. Oh, no. We got to stop this stuff. If you haven't already, please check out our patron support. If you want to listen to an extra podcast a month and some extra fun, do that. If you shop on Amazon at all, start all your Amazon shopping with this link right here. It helps the channel out a little bit. And all the other ways to help the channel you can find out in the description box below. One more time. Talk to you guys next time. If you're listening to the audio cast, comment. Give us some iTunes ratings. Love you guys. Next time. Peace.